Welcome to Aligned and Thriving Week 2. And if you're new to my channel or to the Aligned and Thriving series, it's a 3-week series in which each week I focus on a different core value. And how I've come up with these core values is that they're based on the 3 core values of both my business brand, but also me personally. So the 3 core values are connection, empowerment, and family. So last week, the focus was all about connection. So this week in week 2 is about empowerment. And next week, which will be the final week in the Aligned and Thriving series, that will focus on family. So during these 3 weeks of the Aligned and Thriving series, I welcome you to reflect on what your core values are, both your core values as a professional and also as an individual, and see whether there is any clash or a little bit of disconnection between your values as a professional and then your personal individual values as well. And I know from my personal experience as both a professional, a mum, and a business owner, that when I'm acting out of alignment with my values, then that's when what I'm doing, whether it's in my personal or business life, really starts to sit uncomfortably with me, because I feel like I'm being dragged away from the life that I'm wanting to lead, and then the mission that I'm trying to achieve both in my personal life and in my business as well. So this week, our discussion is going to be about empowerment. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about is, what is empowerment? Empowerment, of course, is a unique experience for everybody. And sometimes when we think about empowerment, we straight away jump to thinking about disempowerment, which is the very opposite of the value of empowerment. So for me, empowerment is feeling that I'm capable of achieving my set goals and in moving forward with the intention that I've set for myself, whether it's an intention for the day, for the week, for a long-term goal. So empowerment is feeling that your current circumstances allow you to be moving towards achieving those goals that you set for yourselves. And empowerment is also where you feel a sense of mastery in what you're doing. So an example of empowerment in a professional capacity would be that you feel skilled and capable to complete your tasks, whether it's to develop a marketing strategy for a high-end client, or whether it's how capable you feel of having difficult conversations with your employees if you're a people manager. And feeling empowered also means that you feel supported from those around you, so your colleagues, your supervisors, even your family and friends, that you actually feel supported by them to be able to do the things that you do, whether it's in your personal life. And sometimes as professional women who are also mums, so professional mums, sometimes we have feelings of disempowerment in different areas of our lives. And I've created a free resource for you all, so you're able to click the link in my bio and also in this post to get your copy. And it's called the Life and Wellbeing Wheel for Mums. So the Life and Wellbeing Wheel looks at different areas of our life, and it's a reflection tool. So it's asking you to reflect on these different areas of your life, and the areas are all in the wheel, but I won't go through them all now, so you can go and get your copy. The Life and Wellbeing Wheel looks at the different areas of your life, and I invite you to consider these different areas of your life using the lens of empowerment. So in these different areas of your life, are you feeling empowered? Do you feel that you have the support from those around you? Do you feel like you have the, I guess, internal motivation to complete these tasks? One of the examples of an area of your life from the Life and Wellbeing Wheel is activities of enjoyment, so your fun and leisure. So are there certain leisure activities that you enjoy? So for me, I love many activities, but one of my activities that I enjoy, one of my leisure activities, which also falls in the category of sort of health and well-being as well, but one of the leisure activities, and there will be some overlap in the categories, so you can, if there's overlap for you, you can definitely draw arrows between the categories if you think there's definitely a link for you. So in the activities of enjoyment category, I really love Zumba. So sometimes I might occasionally post about Zumba, but I love Zumba. And if I'm thinking about that as a specific example, when I attend the class, is the class designed to set me up for success? Is it designed for student success? If I enter the class and my Zumba instructor doesn't greet me, doesn't ask how I am, doesn't welcome me warmly into the class, so there's different ways in which my Zumba instructor sets me up for success and for me to feel empowered to be able to successfully complete that class. So examples would be that she warmly greets me when I enter. She will use cues, and if there's a new routine, she'll pre-warn us, oh, there's a new routine coming up, and just, don't worry if you don't get it the first time. It's all good. We're still learning. So that's an example of where I'd feel empowered to be able to give those challenging new routines a go and be empowered to do my best in the class, because I feel that the environment around me is supportive of my success. That's one example. And thinking of a time where I may have felt disempowered would be in a professional setting. So for me, I've certainly experienced managers that didn't appear to be motivated by my success. So I remember I was completing some studies, and I was always the type to complete my postgrad studies while working in various professional roles. So for me, there were definitely some difficulties in being able to negotiate flexible work arrangements or being able to negotiate time off to complete assessments, exams, and that sort of thing. So at that time, I was feeling disempowered. I felt that I wasn't in control of my goals and my mission. So going back to what I was saying before about when we feel empowered, we feel that our environment around us is really supportive of our success and wants us to do well. So therefore, we're more likely to do well because we do feel empowered and therefore sort of motivated to achieving our goals, or at least working towards those goals. Because I had quite a lot of difficulties in being able to negotiate some flexible work arrangements and feeling that the management was supportive of my continued professional development, because those factors weren't there, then I felt disempowered in the workplace. So disempowered in the sense that I found that caused my overall motivation to actually reduce, and my motivation in being able to juggle my professional role and also my study load and my parenting. I felt that things started to feel a little bit more overwhelming because I felt disempowered. So if there are certain areas in your life, once you've had a look at the Life and Wellbeing Wheel, I invite you, not just this week where we focus specifically on empowerment, but I invite you to consider these concepts more broadly and to consider what opportunities exist for you to increase your feeling of empowerment in these different areas of your life. So how is disempowerment showing its ugly self in your life? And currently, because I've done a lot of work to try and increase the opportunities for empowerment, it's not something that regularly shows up for me anymore, but it is something that the professional women that I work with, so my coaching clients, it really does show up for them. And a lot of examples are particularly workplace settings in which they of wanting to increase their knowledge in a certain field, or they're wanting to move into higher level management roles and they're feeling that they're not supported by leadership to be able to advance in their current organization. And so that's something that definitely comes up quite a lot. And I have spoken about it before, in which sometimes our environment and those that we're surrounded by are not always conducive to kind of optimal well-being. And so the environment around us definitely impacts how empowered we feel. And it reminds me of a quote from the amazing Cher, like multi-talented Cher, singer, actress, what can't she do? But the quote is, "Women have to harness their power." It's absolutely true. It's just learning not to take the first no. I absolutely love that quote. And sometimes we find ourselves feeling disempowered because we take no for an answer. There's definitely been so many times in my life where I've been told no, or you're unlikely to be successful, but go ahead anyway, and various other forms of the word no without actually saying the word no. So if we were to take no for an answer, which is the opposite of what we were taught as children, I remember growing up, my mum would say to me, and I've definitely said it to my children, I feel like sometimes we end up mimicking the way we were parented, even if we don't ever intend to. And I never intend to parent how I was parented, absolutely not. But I remember my family would say to me, like, take no for an answer. So if I'd ask, can I have some ice cream after dinner, but I didn't finish my dinner, I would get told no. And I'd say, please, I really want the ice cream. It would be like, take no for an answer. Like, I've said no, drop it. Which, as a child, there's definitely not as much opportunity to feel empowered, because as a child, your families are naturally in a position of authority over you. So opportunities to increase your empowerment as a child may not have been an option for you. But now that you're an adult, and a lot of the professionals I work with are mums as well, that sometimes it's about unlearning what we were taught as children, in which we're taught, especially as females, we're taught to take no for an answer. Fast forwarding back to adulthood, if you're having a conversation with your manager, which takes so much courage to have a conversation around your professional development, perhaps there's a promotion opportunity, and you approach your manager and you say, what skills or qualities do you think that I can work on to be considered for the leadership role? Or do you think that I could be considered for that leadership opportunity, or to be allocated that higher revenue client? And often even just someone's response in the negative, even just negative body language, like raised eyebrows when you mention that you're wanting to advance in your organization, now we would perceive that as a no, because very negative body language, such as raised eyebrows or like a open mouth, kind of like, oh, okay, like that, those body language without the verbal response to go with it, we often take that as a no, and I would take that as a no. And just to return back to Cher's quote, it's learning not to take the first no, is that sometimes we hear no several times before it might become a yes. I encourage you this week, as I post different content for Aligned and Thriving on empowerment, that you reflect on how you can refuse to take no for an answer. How can you not accept the first no? And you'd be surprised at what opportunities would open up for you. If in the workplace, if you've spoken to your line manager about a career advancement opportunity, a promotion, etc., and you're met with a not so favorable response, think about how you may politely challenge your supervisor. Could you ask a clarifying question? Could you say, is there a timeline of when I could transition into that next step, to that next leadership role? So actually don't let the conversation stop there. I don't believe the conversation ever stops at no. Not when we're talking about our own personal and professional development. I don't feel that we should be accepting no. So I guess that's my closing thoughts on empowerment. So if you're watching this on YouTube, But if you're wanting to see sort of shorter versions of it, as well as the posts that go with this week's content, head over to my Instagram and you'll see it over there. Thank you so much for joining me for week 2 of Aligned and Thriving. I'm just so honored that you're here. And if anything I've said in this video and any of the related posts, I would love to continue this conversation. So you can head over to Instagram, you can send me a DM, you could comment, you could share it with another professional mum that needs to hear this. You could even be a little bit sneaky, be a bit brazen and tag your line manager or share it with them. So share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. And the more people that receive these messages, then we're increasing opportunities for empowerment for our fellow professional mums out there. So that's really the message I'm trying to get across in the 3-week Aligned and Thriving series. How can we work together to increase our own feelings of empowerment and to continue to live our lives according to our values? That's what it's all about, living according to our values. So thank you so much for joining me.